Join me right now. We have Democratic Congressman from Massachusetts, Seth Moulton. He previously ran for president in the 2020 Democratic primary. It's good to welcome you back to the broadcast, and we're going to get going into this. After Trump's victory on Tuesday, Democrats are certainly grappling with the way forward. And after the loss Tuesday, you are one of the lawmakers who've said that Democrats are out of touch with the American people, saying they spend way too much time trying not to offend anyone rather than being brutally honest about the challenges many Americans face. Then, as part of that argument, you told the New York Times, quote, "I have two little girls. I don't want them getting run over on a playing field by a male or formerly male athlete. But as a Democrat, I'm supposed to be afraid to say that." I know that you have put out a follow-up statement. I do want to give you a chance to explain your comments because you know they have faced backlash. So you've got the floor.
Sure. No, thank you, Alex, very much. And look, I was just speaking authentically as a dad about one of many issues where I think we're just out of touch with the majority of voters. And I stand by my position. You know, maybe I didn't get all the words exactly right. But the point is that the backlash I've received proves my point that we can't even have these discussions as a party. I mean, the chairman of the Massachusetts Democratic Party wouldn't even return my phone call. And we've got to be able to have these debates. But instead, we have a wing of our party that shames us, that tries to cancel people who even bring up these difficult topics, and frankly, shames voters. This is the same group of people who told us to defund the police, who told us that there wasn't a problem at the southern border, who told us that inflation was transient, whatever that means, and who told us that Biden was just fine. And they're out of touch with voters. If we just listen to voters on all of these issues, they were telling us the truth. So we've got to be willing to have these debates. I'm willing to have my mind changed. In fact, I've had some really good conversations in just the last few days with LGBTQ advocates and others, some of whom agree with me, others who don't, but are willing to engage in a thoughtful discussion rather than just trying to cancel one person or another. But we've got to have these debates now to come up with a new strategy for the party, a winning strategy, so that come January, we can be totally united to defeat the Trump agenda, which we know that Trump is going to attack the rights of minorities in this country, including trans people. He's going to try to take away freedoms from women and others. We've got to be united with a winning strategy to prevent that from happening.
So let me just review what's happened since making the statement. I know you have faced calls to resign. I know a top aide stepped down. Certainly members of the trans community have said they're deeply hurt. And Donald Trump has used this as a wedge issue, has spent tens of millions of dollars in anti-trans messaging attacking Kamala Harris. Do you fear co-opting this Republican message doesn't represent Democrat ideals of standing up for all people's rights?
No, we're not co-opting the message. The point is we've got to win this debate. We've got to actually come up with a reasonable position on this that's appealing to most Americans. And then we'll actually win this debate when the Republicans try to shove down their radical position against us. And this applies to so many issues across the board. I mean, we have to have a reasonable position that appeals to the majority of Americans on immigration, which we know is a major issue. I mean, the crisis at the southern border is affecting every community in America today. It's affecting us way up here in Massachusetts. And a lot of Americans feel that Democrats are just out of touch with this border security crisis. So instead of allowing Trump to just get away with deporting millions of Americans, I mean, his terribly immoral border policies, let's have a serious debate about what border security looks like for Democrats and make sure that we bring in a lot of different views on this. Remember, it wasn't that long ago that we had Democrats on TV literally denying that there was even a crisis at the border at all. We've got to have that debate. And let's talk about the economy, too. I mean, I think we have a real discussion to have about what economic populism looks like for Democrats. How do we address the brutal income inequality? How do we push back against a Republican Party that just wants to cut taxes for the rich, and yet all the polls show is trusted more on the economy than Democrats? These are real problems for us that we've got to come to terms with. We've got to face ourselves, look ourselves in the mirror and say, how do we do better? How do we get back in touch with the majority of American voters?
So look, I know that you voted last spring against the Republican-backed bill to bar transgender athletes from playing on sports teams with women and
That's
girls.
right, because it went too far.
You did.
It went way too far. Yeah. But the problem is we don't have an alternative. We're just ceding this issue and so many other issues, Alex, because we're not willing to actually have this debate. Because anyone who tries to have the debate, as I just did, literally they tell you to resign. I mean, it's insane. Why can't we actually just have discussions about tough things in America? You know, you get innovation through debates in disagreement. That should be a hallmark of our party because it's a fundamental American value. You know, here the Republicans are going and banning books, and Democrats are just trying to ban discussion. We're never going to get back in touch with Americans if we can't actually listen to these issues that, whether we agree with them or not, they care about, and we've got to come up with ways to connect with them better. I mean, talk about the police, for example. Like, we're not supposed to talk about supporting the police. We were just told to defund the police. But actually, the police are really important to security in our communities. You know, I value the police. I know that the police keeps an eye on my house when I get the occasional death threat, and I really count on them to protect my family. And yet, as Democrats, we're not supposed to support the police. I mean, that's just so out of touch with American voters. So let's have these actual debates and not cancel people for simply bringing this stuff up.
I know you have been a vocal and pretty fierce critic of Donald Trump, and the trans community, among others, is fearful of a Trump second term. So broadly speaking,
and they should be.
So,
yeah,
but in addition to that, what are you fearful of with this incoming administration, particularly with Republicans holding potentially all three branches of government?
I think that the Trump administration is going to try to shove a very radical agenda down on all of us. They're going to deport millions of Americans, break up families, break up communities. That's just horrific. And yet Trump has been very clear that that's what he wants to do. And his surrogates are on TV today telling you that it's going to happen. So we've got to be united with a strategy to prevent that. But we can't just go around saying there's not a problem at the border. He is going to try to extend his massive tax cuts for his billionaire friends at the expense of everyday Americans. That's a huge economic problem, and yet people still trust Republicans more on economic issues than Democrats. So we've got to seriously re-examine how we are talking about the economy so that we can actually push back on this and have a reasonable agenda, because this is the bottom line. If we don't have a rational approach to these issues, whether it's trans issues or economic issues or what's going on at the border or anything else, then the Republicans are going to succeed at just shoving their radical agenda down the throats of every American, because we don't have the votes in Congress to oppose it. And that's why it's especially important that we have these debates now, that we come up with a new strategy, a winning strategy, and that we're united come January, which is going to come fast, right? We got Thanksgiving, Christmas, and then January is upon us. We've got to by then be united behind a new strategy as Democrats to make sure we win the midterms and we actually just win these debates that are going to play out in Congress. And whether you not like it or not, the Republicans are going to force these debates. So we've got to be prepared for them as Democrats. Okay.
Let me move to overseas now, because today Ukraine launched the biggest drone strike on Moscow since the start of the war. And the New York Times is reporting U.S. and Ukrainian officials say 50,000 Russian and North Korean soldiers have assembled to begin an assault to take back parts of the Kursk region of Russia that's been seized by Ukraine. Look, you're on the Armed Services Committee. What is the dynamic at play here? Putin knows Trump is going to be in office soon. So as the Biden administration's days are waning, what can it do about any serious escalation?
Well, I've said for a long time that Putin's not going to negotiate at all until he sees the end of this election, because he thinks he's going to get a free pass if Trump gets elected. So now Putin knows that. Now Putin is counting on Trump to support him as he has in the past. I mean, let's just pause for a second to say how extraordinary this is, that Vladimir Putin of Russia can count on an American president to support his position. But that's what Trump does, and that's what he's counting on. So what he's trying to do now is build momentum in this war before Trump comes into office, so that once Trump gets there, Russia clearly has the upper hand, and Putin can come in with a winning position in this negotiation. I mean, this is a horrific position for the Ukrainians. It's a horrific position for Ukrainian families. I represent a lot of Ukrainian constituents who are terrified about what's happening overseas and how Trump may, quote unquote, end this war in Russia's favor. And make no mistake, if the lesson coming out of this for Vladimir Putin is that he can get away with these illegal wars of aggression, then stand by NATO. He's going to come for NATO next, and that means American troops on the ground. This is just one of many ways that Trump is so dangerous for our country and for our national security.
Let me ask you about what the president-elect has done, which is threatened to impose tariffs on foreign goods, suggesting a 10 to 20% tax on most foreign products and then a full 60% tariff on goods from China. You're on the House Select Committee on the Chinese Communist Party. Will these tariffs help the American people, as Trump claims, or potentially hurt American consumers?
Well, just about every economist in America has said they will raise prices for American consumers. They're going to make inflation worse. I mean, this is an example, Alex, of why it's crazy that we can't win these arguments on the economy when Trump's policies are going to be terrible for the average consumer, for someone who's just trying to go to the grocery store with their kids, like I often do on the weekend, and just buy groceries for the week. Right? This is going to be a real problem. We don't know exactly how it's going to play out because we don't know if China will actually start a trade war over these tariffs, but it's going to be a problem. Now, look, we do need to protect American businesses. China has spent decades just trying to steal American ideas and American plans and copy American goods. I mean, they even copy our military aircraft. We've got to stop that. The problem is Trump's tariffs aren't going to do it. They're not going to prevent this intellectual thievery that China practices, and they're going to raise prices for everyday Americans. So this is another place where Democrats have to have a winning strategy to pose as an alternative to the Trump agenda. And then we might actually win some of these debates in Congress because we're going to convince some Republicans to come to our side. You know, if we have a reasonable position that's in touch with the majority of Americans on the economy, on the border, on all these different issues, and even the contentious ones, then we can win these debates and we can get a few Republicans to vote with us to prevent Trump from ramming this agenda down our throats. But make no mistake, it's going to be dangerous for everyone across the board, dangerous for our national security and dangerous for American consumers.